It is a fact. It is not in dispute that Donald Trump was spied on. In fact, despite what the corporate press is saying, it was a big story in the corporate press. Former FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith altered an email to justify a false surveillance warrant against Carter Page. Now, outside of that, there are many other claims, and there are more and more stories with copious amounts of evidence that the Obama administration, the Clinton campaign, were heavily spying on Donald Trump. The latest report yesterday coming from Public, a publication by Michael Schellenberger, along with reporting from Matt Taibbi, says that according to several sources, you had individuals in the CIA contact the Five Eyes Spy Club, these are allies around the world, to spy on 26 Trump campaign associates. And oh boy, does it get worse. As part of this story, and as the theory goes, there is a binder containing all of the information about the illegal activities of the previous administration and their efforts to sabotage the frontrunner in the 2016 campaign. And I know. They say that Hillary Clinton was the frontrunner, but Trump won. So they were completely wrong. The polls were wrong. And it turned out that Trump actually did win. So let's just say frontrunner for the Republican Party, for the opposition. They did sabotage him. It did not work. Into his first term, Donald Trump was weighted. They basically cemented concrete blocks to his legs to inhibit him from doing things the American people wanted done. Building a border barrier. If Trump had gotten his way and built a massive, beautiful 30-foot wall from sea to shining sea, then we would not have the migrant crisis we have today. Trump did build some bollard fencing, triple layer security in key areas, but he was obstructed every step of the way. Trump tried to get our troops out of Syria. He was lied to, which is shocking. The American people were lied to. Now, in a news story from Public, they write that according to sources, this binder is not in the possession of Donald Trump. Perhaps it is, but in fact being hidden by intelligence agencies because it is evidence they are committing serious crimes. You know, I have no idea what we can expect to happen in this year. And I often feel like, not that I'm right all the time, but, you know, in 2020 and 2018, there's something I see and I'll say, based on this, we can expect that, right? I have no idea what's happening right now. And, you know, in 2020, I had been looking at a lot of data, Moody's Analytics, for instance, economic data that all indicated a Trump reelection. Well, what I didn't account for was the quote unquote shadow campaign, as Time magazine calls it, the conspiracy, as they call it, unfolding behind the scenes to stop Trump from winning. Whatever. That's what they said. Sure. I didn't account for whatever that was. But one thing we did see, you and I and everybody else who was paying attention, was that Donald Trump was going to get a massive increase in his vote totals. And he did. More than any other sitting president. Just not enough to overcome the quote unquote shadow campaign, as they call it. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I mean, you've got Jack Smith going after Donald Trump. The Supreme Court is going to be hearing arguments on presidential immunity. And while many people think it's going to be, they'll either say he does or does not have immunity. And then if he does, he doesn't go to jail. If he doesn't, he goes to jail, maybe. My concern is, and I'm not a lawyer, so I could be wrong about this, but couldn't there be a narrow ruling from the Supreme Court where they say, yes, the president does enjoy broad immunity for actions undertaken in office as part of his presidential duties? Couldn't they say that and then add, however, Donald Trump was not acting in his official duties? In which case, in this specific instance, he is not immune? I got no idea, man. Georgia is deploying a small detachment of National Guard to support Texas in opposition to the Biden administration. Alaska announced that perhaps in early next year, they will deploy in support of the federal administration, which, who knows, could be Donald Trump. I have no idea what to expect. But I can only tell you this right now is as time goes on, more and more information is being uncovered about the conspiracy against the American people by the Clinton campaign, by the Democratic Party, and very much so the Obama administration. Trump was spied on. There is so much reporting secret meetings with Comey, Sally Yates, Biden, Obama, targeting Donald Trump. They did not want him to be able to win because Trump represents the American people. The Democrats represent NATO, I guess. And there's no democratic process for how they operate. Now, what happens this year? As the story goes, many people believe that Donald Trump took the binder of information proving this conspiracy with him as insurance and is holding on to it right now. Maybe. If he had the insurance, I don't think they'd be trying to put him in prison. The argument now that we're seeing from public is that, in fact, the U.S. government is hiding those documents that incriminate the intelligence community for illegal spying and election interference, say sources. Former CIA Director Gina Haspel blocked the release of the binder with evidence that may identify her role in the Trump collusion hoax. Perhaps. Maybe it's both. Maybe Donald Trump, when he declassified Crossfire Hurricane, that was the operation where they were spying on him. This was a coup. It happened. It was relatively unsuccessful, but perhaps it's easier to say it is ongoing. And right now, we don't know how it will be resolved. Perhaps there is a binder and perhaps Trump does have it. Perhaps there's other information that Trump does not have. Part of this theory and speculation with these stories is that Donald Trump was raided by the FBI because they are sweating bullets trying to figure out where these documents are that prove there was a deep state plot to overthrow this country's government and the will of the people. I think it's fair to say they did. Even though Donald Trump became president, I think it's fair to say there still was this effort. Donald Trump was inhibited from doing what he wanted to do and what he promised the American people he would do and what got him his victory. The American people said we want a secure border. We want better trade agreements. We want manufacturing brought back. Instead, what do we get? Jobs sent overseas, free trade deals, a porous border, and the loss of manufacturing in many areas. Here's the story from Public. U.S. government is hiding documents that incriminate intelligence community for illegal spying and election interference, say sources. This is reporting from Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and Alex Gutentag. Last December 15th, as Americans decorated trees, lit menorahs, and prepared to tune out for winter holidays, CNN ran an extraordinary article titled "The Mystery of the Missing Binder: How a Collection of Raw Russian Intelligence Disappeared Under Trump." Co-authored by Natasha Bertrand, the gargantuan expose claimed a mysterious binder of highly classified information related to Russian election interference went missing in the chaotic waning days of Donald Trump's presidency in January 2021, raising concerns that some of America's most closely guarded national security secrets could be exposed. CNN and its intelligence sources meant exposure in a bad way. Sources have told Public and Racket, however, that the secrets officials worry might be exposed are ones that would implicate them in widespread abuses of intelligence authority dating back to the 2015-2016 election season. Quote, "I would call the binder Trump's insurance policy," said someone knowledgeable about the case. He was very concerned about having it and taking it with him because it was the roadmap of Russiagate. Transgressions range from DOJ surveillance of domestic political targets without probable cause to the improper unmasking of a pre-election conversation between a Trump official and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, to WMD-style manipulation of intelligence for public reports on alleged Russian influence activities. The CNN report claimed intelligence officials were concerned about the disclosure of sources and methods that informed the U.S. government's assessment that Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to help Trump win the 2016 election. They should be concerned. The story of how a team handpicked by CIA Director John Brennan relied on cooked intelligence to craft that January 6th, 2017 intelligence community assessment is the subject of tomorrow's story, the last in this three-part series. Corruption, not tradecraft, is what officials are desperate to keep secret. The missing binder story has several variants. Sources offer differing answers on the question of whether anything of consequence is missing. They give mixed accounts of Trump's frantic last efforts to declassify Russia-related material. But nearly everyone Public and Racket spoke to agreed that the tale obscured a broader and more important story, dating back to the release of the so-called Nunes memo in 2018, exposing the corruption of the FISA application process. Senior intelligence officials, including Trump's CIA director, Gina Haspel, have repeatedly blocked attempts to declassify information about the Trump-Russia investigation. They had good reason to obstruct the release of these documents. As Public and Racket reported yesterday, the CIA had foreign intelligence agencies run an illegal spying operation against then-candidate Trump's presidential campaign in 2016. This illegally acquired intelligence was used to justify the FBI's official probe Crossfire Hurricane, which in turn spurred the investigation of special counsel Robert Mueller. The documents in question are said to contain information about the legal justification for those investigations, or more specifically, the lack of justification, among other things. Should more of that information be made public, it might implicate a long list of officials in serious abuses. Questions like these may be answered if the 10-inch thick binder of sensitive documents about the origins of the Russia probe is made public. Fear for reputations and careers, not national security, is what intelligence officials panicked. FBI divided over Mar-a-Lago raid document. Multiple sources believe that Trump's possession of the binder, or one of multiple binders, led the FBI to raid his home in Mar-a-Lago, which led to the prosecution of Trump by the DOJ's special prosecutor, Jack Smith. I'm going to pause there. I want to give a shout out to Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and I would ask that you guys support them, and Alex Gutentag, support their work and become a subscriber to Public and to their works. I don't want to read through the whole story. Part of me hopes that by stopping there, at least as far as the story goes, I can get out the relevant context and important information to all of you, but encourage you to go to public.substack.com, sign up to support the work they're doing. It is some of the most important journalism so far that we have seen. And, part of me, I get torn on stories like this because Public is a subscriber platform. I don't want to just read all of the news, and I want you guys to subscribe and support the work that they are doing, lest we not know about these stories. But there is more. I'll stop there. I think we've got the gist of this story and the importance of it. I think the American people must know about what is currently happening. And I also think it is incumbent upon all of us to support these journalists. I'll say it one more time. But we also have this. We have a thread from Tom Fitton. In its motion, Judicial Watch quotes President Joe Biden's remarks at a November 9th, 2022 White House press conference and provides the background and justification for the Freedom of Information request. What Tom Fitton has written here, I think, may be one of the most important stories to date. It is clear to anybody who is paying attention. Right now, we can set aside the CIA's illegal spying operation, Obama's spying operation, the Clinton campaign spying, Russiagate. That was a long time ago. Right now, we are still in the midst of this cold civil war. And that's not my words. There's a Princeton professor who said that, but I think it's fair to say. Because political powers behind the scenes are seeking to destroy this country. And I think when you see what Tom Fitton has, what Judicial Watch has written, it becomes clear. I think most of you know this already, but it's put succinctly. Let me read for you. Quote, well, we just have to demonstrate that Donald Trump will not take power. If he does run, I'm making sure he, under legitimate efforts of the Constitution, does not become the next president again. President Joe Biden. On November 18th, 2022, 3 days after Trump announced he would run for president again in 2024, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed special counsel Jack Smith to investigate potential criminal wrongdoing by former President Donald Trump. The appointment came 9 days after Biden announced his effort to make sure Trump did not become president again. The unprecedented investigation and now prosecutions by an incumbent president of his immediate predecessor, opponent in the last election and leading opponent in the upcoming election raises numerous questions about who special counsel Smith chose to assist him in this highly charged endeavor. Are these persons opponents or supporters of the former president aligned with one or more of the two major political parties, or otherwise biased or conflicted? Or are they unbiased, nonpartisan professionals? And I'll pause right there and just say it rather simply. It's clear as day. Joe Biden publicly stated He will not allow Trump to become president. The New York Times reported that Donald Trump insulted Merrick Garland for not going after Donald Trump. And then we have Merrick Garland going after Donald Trump. It's clear, isn't it? New York Times, CNN has reported this. Joe Biden is outright saying, stop Trump by any means necessary. Because they're criminals, because Joe Biden is corrupt, because Joe Biden is a deeply evil man. His family are crooked. His son is a crackhead. Look, I'll give him credit for getting clean, but he is from a disgusting and despicable lineage, and they have committed serious crimes. And I think this country is in trouble unless something changes. To be fair, I think even if Donald Trump does win, this country is still facing a very dark period. Moving forward, Judicial Watch writes, defendant readily acknowledges that the SCO's investigation and prosecutions of former President Trump, special counsel, have been the subject of intense public scrutiny. Defendant's memo at 2, the scrutiny will only increase as the election approaches. Yet defendant also claims startlingly, that there is a dearth of FOIA public interest in knowing the identities of SCO staffers. Defendant could not be more wrong. Knowing who special counsel Smith chose to investigate and prosecute the former president is vital to inform debate about the SCO's activities. It has substantial bearing on public confidence in or skepticism about the SCO's actions and may help voters decide how to cast their ballots in the upcoming election. It is vital to the functioning of our republic, at the very center of FOIA's purpose of providing citizens with informed information about what their government is up to. Now, he goes on to make a lot of points that I think are extremely important, talking about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, members of Robert Mueller's investigation into Trump. And, I think there's a lot to go through with Strzok and Page as to their nefarious activities. But this is wild. It's all laid out in front of us. It's been going on for some time. I want to read for you this tweet from Huffington Post, lest we never forget what we were dealing with during the Trump administration. Huffington Post has this tweet that says, a tape might exist of Trump doing something in an elevator, though exactly where that somewhere is and what that something might be, no one in media can say. That's because no one in media seems to have seen the tape or is even confident it exists. That's right. The media, Democratic establishment, the Obama administration, the Clinton campaign, the establishment powers, they do not want the American people to have a say. They want to lie, cheat, and steal. But it's all getting exposed. What I love about this tweet is that it exposes the sheer desperation. They ran out of ideas. You'd only call Trump Hitler so many times before people just say, I don't care. I really don't. In this tweet from Benny Johnson, he says, opening statement of Hunter Biden's former business associate, Tony Bobulinski, says Joe Biden enabled his son to sell access to the United States' most dangerous adversaries, including China, Russia, and more. Take a look at this. Hunter Biden's alleged expenses, $1.6 million in ATM withdrawals, $683,000 for payments to various women, $400K about for clothing, $300 on tuition and education, $237 on health, beauty, and pharmacy, $236 on miscellaneous retail purchases. Man, dark days indeed. I don't know how you navigate something like this. I don't know that simply voting is the solution because rest assured, my friends, if there was a shadow campaign in 2020, there is certainly a shadow campaign today. That being said, our path right now is clear. Organize, vote out incumbents. Donald Trump is a very, very imperfect candidate. However, considering what they did to him, many people say, what's the case for Donald Trump? He's an old man. Even Jon Stewart was ragging on him. There's people like Vivek, sure. But I'll put it this way. The corruption we have learned of from the reporting of Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, Alex Gutentag, and many others, we need accountability. When it came to Ron DeSantis running for president, I felt that he would just compromise. He's going to say, look, water under the bridge. We're here to fix the country. Let's just walk away from this one. Ian Crossland on IRL often says, pardon and forgiveness for the Democrats. No, we cannot allow people who have destroyed and subverted this country to just get away with doing it. And so I see the only real path forward is Donald Trump's retribution, not for me, for himself. If the corrupt elements of the U.S. government and the Democratic Party, and to be honest, the Republican Party, if they are to be stopped, you need someone who is motivated to stop them. Considering Donald Trump is the victim of all of this, I believe he's probably the only one willing to actually try and do something about it. Many other candidates would simply, as I said, like Ron DeSantis, I don't think DeSantis would go after him. I think he'd get in and say, I don't want to go to war with you guys. I just want to get some of my policies pushed through. And he'd negotiate and he'd compromise. Donald Trump made this mistake in his first term. I mean, look, Gina Haspel, he chose many of these people. He did not know what he was doing. He made a lot of mistakes, and they were working behind the scenes to sabotage the elected president. When he tried to get our troops out of Syria, let me just stop there and say, when did they go and why are they there? Who remembers the invasion of Syria? We know the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, but did you know we invaded Syria? How about that? Trump said, get our troops out. They said, okay, we did. But they did not. They lied. To you, to me, to Donald Trump. These people should be in prison. And Donald Trump's the only one who's going to do it. And that, to be completely honest, I still don't even have a guarantee he does. But if you're going to point at any one of these individuals and ask me who would do it, Donald Trump's the best bet. Now, why is Nikki Haley still running? Because she's basically part of the establishment, and she's hoping Trump goes to jail. If the Supreme Court announces they do not agree with presidential immunity, she's not going to drop out, because she's going to say, look, even if I can't win the election, Trump will be in jail, and then I'm the default candidate. Imagine that. Come November, your choice is Joe Biden or Nikki Haley. In that instance, RFK Jr. might actually win. Or at the very least, it'll be close. Nikki Haley. Yikes. We'll see. There's a lot going on. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.